Hello, everybody. I'm Josh Gordon. I've been in media sales for about 24 years. Currently, I'm an independent publisher's rep, and I do sales training for media organizations. A lot of the ideas you'll hear about today come from my most recent book, Presentations That Change Minds. Anyway, we're going to cover some housekeeping issues first of all, before we get into the meat of the program. First of all, I'd like to invite everyone to turn off your pop-up blocker. It may interfere with the functioning of the system here. Also, I'd like to call your attention to the fact that at the end of the presentation, I'll be taking questions. And there's a question box on the lower left side of the slide console. Just type in the question and hit the Submit button. I'll be holding questions until the end of the presentation. By the way, you can download the entire presentation by clicking the Download button on your console. And at the end of the presentation, the BPA folks will ask you to take a survey. It'll only take a few minutes, and they will appreciate the feedback. Finally, I should mention that this presentation will be archived for 3 months on the BPA website. So with that, I guess we're going to get started here. Okay, here we go. Okay, first of all, I'd like to mention that this is part one of a two-part presentation. The next part will be on March 8th. And this is all about using creative ideas to use your BPA data on sales calls so that they create excitement and interest and not bore your audience. And what I'd like to do on March 8th is to solicit any creative BPA presentation ideas you might care to share with me, and I will share them with the industry. And during today's presentation, I'm going to share a lot of different links to the BPA website, links to other blogs and websites, and you'll be able to see these links and click through to them as I've posted them on my website, joshgordon.com. Just to reiterate, I'm going to talk for about 35 to 40 minutes, and then let the questions begin. I'd like to start off my thinking about how to use BPA data on sales calls to create excitement and interest from a story where this was actually used against me. I just started selling ad space for a magazine called Broadcast Engineering, and it was a difficult situation because the person before me had not worked out, and I was taking over a troubled territory, but I didn't realize just how troubled it was until I tried to go up to the Canadian section of this territory to make sales calls. People were furious at me. They said, everybody knows no one from Broadcast Engineering cares about the Canadian accounts or the Canadian territory. I was flabbergasted. I couldn't imagine why anyone would come to this conclusion. Anyway, I was selling against the legendary Gene Kinsella, and he had gone up, built relationship with these great Canadian accounts, and then he had proven to them with hard numbers that my magazine didn't care about Canadian accounts. This was quite a revelation. I had no idea that my magazine didn't care about Canadian accounts. It seemed kind of ridiculous to me, but it took a long time. But when I finally got up to the Canadian territory and made calls on these good people, this is what I found that Gene had done. He had sold the idea that my magazine did not care about Canadians, and then he had offered proof in the form of BPA circulation data. And his proof was quite simply that his magazine had more Canadian circulation than mine had. So this is what Gene had done. He had bonded an idea together with proof using BPA data from his audit statement. And this is basically the crux of the first approach to using BPA data on sales calls in a dynamic way, which is that you first sell an idea, and then you use BPA data to prove the idea. And by bonding these two together, both will stand much stronger. If Gene had just gone in and said, hey, we've got more Canadian circulation than they do, you know, that's a big, well, okay, so. But what he did was he bonded that together with an idea. And together, by bonding an idea with the proof, BPA circulation data, it together stood much more strongly and kept me out of the Canadian territory for about a year. Anyway, there's a lot of interest when it comes to this subject of using proof on sales calls. Very often I think we get carried away with ourselves. We believe in our own products, we believe in our publication, we believe in our own circulation statements, and so we always assume that the facts are on our side. But often when buyers sit down, when they see what we're actually presenting, they say, well, maybe there's no facts here. Maybe they're just claims. Truth is, there's a lot of stuff that people see, and a lot of reason why people should be skeptical. Here's a little piece of media for you. This was last week's National Examiner. Laura hires divorce lawyer. Where's the proof of this statement? Yet, there's tons and tons of claims that are always made by media people that perhaps seem no less outlandish by media buyers. Consider the fact that there's all kinds of books out on how to manipulate data, statistics, and charts that would help would-be salespeople, obviously no one on this call, but others perhaps to stretching the truth a bit. Let's talk about using proof on sales calls. When I wrote the book Selling 2.0, I interviewed Kevin Fitzgerald, who was then editor of Purchasing Magazine. And this is what he said. What a buyer really wants is proof. Instead of just making a claim, back it up with something, even if it is anecdotal information. Weak proof is better than no proof at all. I took this a step further and did a massive survey where I pitted salespeople, a list provided by Sales and Marketing Management Magazine and Selling Power Magazine, versus professional purchasing agents on a list provided by the Dun & Bradstreet Corporation. And with regards to the subject of salespeople using proof on sales calls, this was what salespeople said. They said that within the past 12 months, salespeople in general, readers of Selling Power and Sales and Marketing Management magazines, said that they use proof only about 40% of the time. But the statistics were even more surprising when you turned that over to the Dun & Bradstreet list of professional buying agents. They said, according to them, only about 20% of salespeople actually use proof on sales calls. So, if you want to beat 80% of your competition, think about adding proof to the next time you want to go out and make a sales call. Let's take a step back and see how we can use BPA data on a sales call to prove an idea. First of all, I think what you have to do is sit down and crunch the numbers. Just figure out what circulation advantage you have over your competition. And I think if you have a 4% or a 7% advantage in a circulation category or a job title, that's really not going to do it. I think you need to have at least a 20% advantage over your competition to make something stick. And your advantage can be in job title, or it can be in facility type. Doesn't matter. Just figure out what your core circulation advantage is. Then you go to section 3A and pick this out and look around and see what you've got. Then, once you've got your title or business and industry category that you have a circulation advantage, you need to find an idea, a vision, or a story. For example, if you have more operations managers, is there a trend that makes operation managers more important right now? Is there a new idea being circulated in your industry to sell operation managers? They're aggregating at a trade show. They're doing certain things that they didn't do before. Is there a trend making these people more interesting or interested in your particular product right now? There's a transition to digital. There's a 9/11 issue. There's a security issue, some issue, and basically you come up with some reason as to why this group of people or this industry segment is just extremely important, the most